Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Motivational speaker, the comeback coach, and goal crusher Joe Rivera brings you inspiring leaders, incredible stories, and valuable lessons on how you can change, grow, and reforge your life. Now, here's your host, Joe Rivera.
What's up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Reforge Your Life Show. I'm your host, Joe Rivera, and here at the Reforge Your Life Show, we like to show you that the comeback is more than possible. And today, I'm excited about the guest that I'm bringing to the show. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's the founder of Gathering of the Kings Mastermind. Chaz Wolfe, thanks for coming through, man. I appreciate you coming through, brother.
Yeah, man. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. And like I said, they don't call it a comeback, right? We've been here for years.
That's right, man. Speaking of comebacks, man, I heard your story, but the whole audience doesn't know that. And yeah. I can't tell your story the same way you can. So I'd love for you to share it with the audience, man.
Well, the comeback is an interesting way to say it. There's a clip that went viral on social media probably 3 or 4 years ago where the gym teacher was, he has class out, it's a pretty diverse class. And they're all lined up on the line and they're going to run across the gym, or maybe it was the field. I can't remember exactly, but he's like about to blow the whistle, and they're about to run the race. And right before he hits the whistle, he's like, before we can do this, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. And if the answer is yes, you take 2 steps forward. If the answer is no, you take 2 steps back. And he asked questions like, if you had 2 parents in the home, yes, take 2 steps forward, 2 steps back if not. Questions like that. And he asked 5 or 6, 7 questions, something like that. And by the time he got done asking his questions, the line of everybody that had been, all uniform, they were ready to run the race, was out now all spread out. There was 2 guys that were basically right up against the finish line. They had taken so many steps forward. And then there were some guys that were so far back you could barely see them, right? And unfortunately, the clip at that time was basically talking about how, like we've just got such a different backgrounds and how certain things are unfair. And I've just never taken that approach of unfair or the things have been given to me in a wrong manner, right? Like you said, we all have our own stories. We've got our own comebacks. And so for me, I watched that and said, thank goodness, because in that moment, even though I was one of the guys standing way back there, because I didn't have certain privileges that maybe other people had that I grew up with or around, it wasn't their race. It was my race. It's always been my race. And even if the 2 guys were right close to the finish line, they hopped over immediately, it didn't mean that I couldn't run the race and also win. And so for me, the story, even though I grew up single mom family, even though, we didn't maybe have a whole lot financially, even though I didn't know my dad growing up, even though, name the scenarios, I just always thought as this is an opportunity for me to win, because it doesn't matter what they do. This is an opportunity for me. And so, yeah, I got involved in business. I bought my first business at 24, turning 25. I've owned multiple businesses, couple dozen businesses at this point. And all has culminated into one of my companies now is a mastermind community called Gathering the Kings, where I get to help other entrepreneurs live the exceptional life and win in all areas. Because not that I'm perfect by any means at all, but I've learned a bunch and I've been able to build a network of incredible people and put everybody in the same room, and it makes for just immense value.
Absolutely. You talk about the winning mentality. I was in the city the other day and saw a slogan that Nike has. They say you can't win, and then it says you can win. Basically, eliminating the word "can't" from your vocabulary to turn it into taking action and doing.
Yeah.
And you've done that a lot in your life through the businesses that you've had to build. I'm sure that you've dealt with some adversities when it comes to building those businesses, because I know as an entrepreneur that entrepreneurship, it's not a straight ride to success, right? There's bumps in the road along that way. Those bumps in the road is where the growth happens. So I'm curious, when it came to building these businesses, what were some of those challenges that you were faced with?
Yeah, I mean, I've had personnel challenges. I've had financial challenges. I mean, I think someone that could sit here and spout off all the challenges, I've probably dealt with most of them.
Mhm.
You know, the first one that comes to my mind, you know, the personnel. I remember having two franchise locations. My first business that I bought into was Edible Arrangements. It's a franchise. I'm sure you're probably familiar with the brand, but I built and bought 7 locations in 4 years. That was in my 20s. And so I had 7 locations in 3 states, about 60, 65 employees. On the holidays, we'd have over 500 employees. And the personnel challenges that come to my mind initially were I had, you know, two locations and I was going to 3. And at the same time, I was plotting a 4th, but in a different city. And so I was moving people around. I had spent a lot of time with this manager who had started to run the 2 locations for me. And while I was getting up the 3rd, and we were kind of just starting to hum along, you know, and every entrepreneur listening can probably relate to this feeling, like where you put a lot of work in, a lot of intentionality, systems, people, process, whatever, and things are starting to like really move and really groove. And I'm starting to make this move to go to my 4th location, which is in a brand new city, 3 hours away. It's the first one like I've done like this. And this manager I had spent so much time with, and she was a single mom, and I had really spent a lot of time developing her as a leader. And she was running 2 of the locations, and it was just a great opportunity for her. Had found a better opportunity, and I was so happy for her, and so not happy at the same moment, because right before one of our major holidays, I'm about to open up our 4th location in a brand new city, not anywhere near the current metro that I'm in. And she says, "Hey, I'm sorry, but like, you know, I gotta make this move." And you know, that challenge in that was like, oh my goodness, you know, I'm gonna have to think about this holiday completely different, because now I'm stretched too thin, right? And I've got things going on in the scenario of this mix now that I hadn't thought about before. And so there's always a reaction to every action, or a reaction or action to every reaction, right?
Mm.
And so for me in that scenario, it was super challenging. However, what I learned how to do in that moment was to manage remotely in a major way on a major holiday for that brand, which then allowed me to have multiple cities or multiple stores outside of my one city that I was in eventually. And I think about those things, like when you say challenges, like, oh yeah, sure, I could think about the time where my wife begged me not to do a location. It was a 7th location, cost me $330,000 to start, and it never, Joe, it never made money until the day I shut it down. And she begged me not to do it. She told me up ahead of time, I've got this feeling we shouldn't do it. And what did she didn't have any concrete evidence. She didn't have any data. I was like, you're whatever. Like, no, right. I'm doing this. So, you know, like whether a decision like that cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 total in the years that it was open, all the way to, you know, personnel stuff. In the midst of all that, dude, I learned so much, and it's just only allowed me to level up and level up and level up and level up. Right.
Yeah. Listen, those challenges that we face, what's on the other side of those challenges, those learning lessons.
Yeah.
That's where the winning, you know, because a lot of people could look at a situation like you went through, right? And you burned through, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And on top of that, you got to deal with your wife saying, "I told you so," right? but you know, you get the lessons on the other side, which is fulfilling. It kind of erases the several hundred grand you lose, because you know what? Those lessons are priceless. You can't put a price tag on them.
Right. Yeah. Napoleon Hill says in Think and Grow Rich, and also some work that he did before that called The Laws of Success. He said that there, in every adversity, in every failure, in every bad circumstance, however you want to name it, there is a seed of the equivalent of potential. Doesn't say that just in every bad situation there's flowers. So that there's a seed. There's the possibility of something that can be as great or greater in a good way. You got to harvest it. You got to find it. You got to look for it. You got to be open-minded enough for it. But I am here to stand for sure here to say today and say that I've dug out a few of those seeds, because like I said, every action has a reaction, and it's like, okay, this is a bad scenario. How can I take this scenario and then level up from it? How can this never happen again? Or in a good way, right? Like, how can I take this and learn from it so that it never happens again?
I love that every action has a reaction too, because it's so true. When you make a decision in your life, there's a reaction to that decision, and that reaction can be a result, and you have to learn to be okay with that result, because there's gonna be, even if it's a result that might look like a loss at the moment, it ends up being a win if you could turn it into that win and learn from it and use it to catapult into your future.
Yeah. I used to read a long time ago. I'm sure it came from a book like Think and Grow Rich, but that basically we are today from the culmination of all of our decisions. And that sounds a little cheesy, and it's like, oh yeah, that would look good on the wall, like, one of those phrases, right? But when you really think about that, most people don't like that because they don't like where they are. And if we're honest and we just kind of play that back in our minds and we say we are where we are today based on the culmination of our decisions, not just one singular decision, because sometimes things go really, really well. Some things don't go really, really well. Sometimes we make a good choice and it doesn't turn out the way we thought. Sometimes we make a bad choice and it definitely doesn't turn out the way we thought, right? But the culmination of these decisions, what I was trying to do from a pretty young age is make back to back to back to back good decisions. Because I knew, just like compounding effort in the stock market or in an interest scenario where you make an investment, I knew that the compound interest on my good decisions would eventually lead to a place where I was not only just proud of and thankful for where I was, but like I'd be able to look back and be like, man, I'm so thankful that I did that. I made those specific choices. I remember thinking, I'm like 18, 19 years old and, preparing for work the next day on a Saturday. And I've got buddies that call me at 10, 11 o'clock at night. They're just getting ready to go out. And they're like, you won't. I answer the phone. Hello? They're like, you won't. Talking about I won't get out of bed and get dressed and come out with them. And I would say, you're right. I won't. Click. And I'd go right back to bed, and I was up early the next morning to go to work because at 18, 19 years old, I didn't have any other choice. Like I said, I didn't have much given to me. So if it was going to happen, it was going to be because I made it happen, So I think that culmination of good choices, especially when you can look back on the compound effort of it, I think is just an amazing tool.
Absolutely, man. Choices we make shape our destiny.
Oh yeah.
And you mentioned something else that's really powerful, and I want the audience to pick up on. When you were 19 years old, your friends were calling you, telling you to get up, go out, go hang out with them, and you're like, nah, you know what? I'd rather go and create my destiny. I'd rather go work on my future. How important was the people that you surrounded yourself with and that you choose to surround yourself with today for your success?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably everything, right? Like everything that we want in life comes through another person. Like whether it's my spouse, when I think about my wife, Julie, and, the family that we've created and the legacy that we'll leave and all these fun things, or when I think about a business associate, or when I think about a client, all of these are relationships. Like everything that you want in life comes through another person. And it took me a long time to kind of figure that out. I was in sales for a long time. I really had to figure out, curiosity. And in order to be really curious, I had to change my genuine interest in people. And when I look at people through a Zoom or in person or even on the phone and can't see them, but I'm actually really interested in them now. I wasn't originally. I was selfish, right? We all are by nature. And when I made that switch right there, it allowed me to be able to think about not just the value that I got from being around great people, but just the value of great relationships in general, because I was paying attention to people, because I cared about people. and you can care a lot about people and not have a great circle. And so these two can only go together if you actually put them together, right? Because I can care a lot about people. I know people personally that have big hearts, that love people, that care about amazing people. But because they don't surround themselves with, the right people, they're still where they are. And so obviously this is part of what we do with Gathering the Kings. This is a network of elite entrepreneurs from all across the country. We're down to earth, we're family oriented, we're growth minded, and we're getting together, whether it be on Zoom or in person. And we're talking, tactics of business, but we're also talking marriage. We're also, doing success principle trainings with kids. We're talking health and trying to optimize and be the best versions of ourselves. We're talking about faith and lifestyle, the things that bring us joy. And for me, when I started to surround myself with people like that were talking about topics and deep functions of where I'm headed and who I'm becoming, and these are great accolades and all and cool, but like, what are the next levels? I've been married for 17 years this year. We have an incredible life in marriage, but I want to go to the next level, and I want to be around other people who are obsessed with going to the next level in their marriage and in their business and in their health and their faith. You know what I mean? And that's just a different energy, man. Like, I learned this, way too late. I remember like stacking all these Edible Arrangements franchises and really making moves. I was the youngest franchisee this and winning awards here and all these things, which was so great. But at the end of it, I was siloed. I was alone. I was isolated. I'm sure we can all relate to that, but I was sitting at my desk making heavy decisions that impacted tons of employees in my community and of course my family, but I was all alone. And when you recognize what you just said, which is the power of the people that are around you, not just, selecting, properly is important. But when you have a group of people or a community, as we say, and you get like plugged up, it's like your lamp, the power to your light wasn't there when you were alone. But as soon as you get plugged up into that community, boom, insights and inspiration and strategies and tactics and new ways of thinking and creative agitation of thought. All these things happen inside of a community where people are jiving back and forth and winning, and it makes us better.
Yeah, man, it's so important to surround yourself with people who are either at a higher level than you, or people who want to get to that higher level, because that's the only way you could elevate your life. I mean, I remember when I was in my 20s making 7 figures a year, man, and I wasn't surrounding myself with other people who were at a higher level. So I didn't know how to get any much higher. I didn't know how to excel to that next level. And what that ended up keeping me, I ended up being spiritually bankrupt. And then once, I turned my life around and started surrounding myself with people who inspired me, guess what? I started getting inspired to do more with my life. Doors started opening. Mountains started getting moved because I'm hanging out with movers and shakers that are able to do that. I'm putting myself in those rooms. It's so important, man, for all the listeners out there. When you go to these events where I might be speaking at, Chaz might be speaking at, your other favorite speakers might be speaking at, what the speakers are saying is important. You got to apply what they're saying, but man, the magic is in the room. The other people are there. The community around that is where the magic happens. Those are the people you want to connect with so that you can help elevate yourself to that next level. You want to keep a circle of those kind of people, man.
Yeah. I talk about inside of GTK, our community, that, Napoleon Hill first talked about this in Think and Grow Rich, chapter 10. He defines the mastermind principle. And I think the word mastermind gets overused, like group coaching, guru group. Like I don't know what else they would call it, but mastermind gets used, but it's not. Most of these things are not masterminds. The mastermind principle is when 2 or more work in harmony unto achieving something specific. And so this is what happens, is that when 2 or more minds, even like ours right now, get together, a third is created, something more, something that would not have happened if you and I didn't get together. Or if we've got an event coming up here in April, we're going to be in South Carolina, and there'll be probably 50, 60 entrepreneurs there. And the thing that's going to come out of that is going to be unique to the scenario of the people that were there. And to your point, that community, that relationship, that kind of magic behind the scenes. Sure, speakers are great and events themselves are fun, but when you can do life, is what we say. We can do life with people in a manner that like constantly encourages and challenges in the same like fashion. There is major power.
Unlimited power, unlimited. I mean, sky's the limit at that point.
Yeah, I agree.
So Chaz, I'm curious, you know, through building the businesses and the challenges you faced, there's beliefs that had to get cracked through in order to overcome those challenges. What was the belief system like before the challenges, through the challenges, and you know, what were those beliefs that had to get cracked through?
Yeah, that's a big question, dude. Lots of them, and I want to keep shattering my beliefs and opening up, you know, new neural pathways to things that I can believe that I don't currently, you know. But this is real faith, you know. The emotion of faith is belief in action. And when you can but when you can match rather your belief with action, that is faith. And when you start doing things based on these convictions that you have, that to me is the ultimate belief shatter, you know, a mindset or whatever you want to call it. But some of the specifics for me, to answer your question, you know, first off, I used to think I was better by myself, right? Like I built all those, you know, Edible Arrangements franchises before I got into other businesses on my own. And I did, you know, outside of a little bit of help and favor from the Lord, because I do feel like he was guiding me. I didn't ask for help. I didn't need help. Right? Probably needed a lot of help. But when I look back at that, I was isolated, like I was talking about, and but I was okay with it. You know, we all kind of have that stage where we like, you know, we beat our chest and we're the lone wolf and we can do it on our own. And who needs help? Who needs encouragement? And so the truth is opposite. You know, my belief now is that, like you said earlier, that the immense power that I get that is unlimited because of the people that I can put in my circle. And sometimes it's just hearing someone's, you know, their story, whether it's listening to a podcast like this or being in a group like GTK and hearing someone across the circle talk about a struggle or a victory or what they're doing in their family and business. And you're like, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And sometimes that's all that I needed, was just a little bit of courage to go, well, if that guy can do it, I can do it. And so, yeah, I would say that was probably the biggest shift. You know, I could think of, you know, like when I was younger, you know, I spent every single dollar. Like, you know, I used to manage a Foot Locker when I was in high school, and I used to have so many pair of shoes, dude. You know, I had the tinted out, you know, SUV with 22-inch wheels and, you know, sound system in the back, and you know, I had all the new J's, and I was it, man.
Yeah.
But I had no money. You know, and I think that for me, as I learned the value of the dollar, my belief now is, oh, sure, could I go buy that? Okay, cool. But what was I really looking for? Was I looking for happiness? Was I looking for approval from others? Like, I don't know, but I don't need that anymore. And so instead of spending my money on frivolous things, I like to build things. I like to build businesses. I like to build a legacy, you know, whether that's investments or building and investing in my businesses or investing in people in my businesses. You know, I think that there's a lot of reasons that money gets spent in those ways, and it's a whole lot better than the next pair of shoes or the nice car or whatever. And not to say that those things are bad. We all like nice things, and I've got nice things, but like, I'm just so not worried about those things anymore, you know?
Yeah, man. And the power of how important it is to invest in yourself rather than spending money on all the bullshit out there and all the, you know, the frivolous spending and, you know, trying to impress other people.
Right.
I mean, man, first of all, who are you looking to impress? Nobody gives a fuck. You know what I mean?
Nobody thinks about you.
Yeah, nobody really thinks about you. It doesn't matter. And you really want to impress? You want to impress the world? Go out there and create an impact with the business that you're going to invest in. Investing in yourself, in your personal development. Make yourself a better person so that
Yeah.
you could be a better service.
Yeah,
It,
that's so
it's
true.
it's so important. And you mentioned something that is vital for success. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there who struggle with that belief. I think if you ask 10 entrepreneurs, 9.9 of them are going to say they had the same issue when it comes to thinking that you didn't need help, that you could do it all on your own.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm curious because it's a big problem out there that a lot of entrepreneurs have. What was the shift that happened where you were like, shit, my
Yeah.
fucking ego is the problem. I got to
Yeah.
remove this ego in order to get to that next level. It's okay for me to say, you know what? Hey, I need help with this. I don't want to do this on my own.
Yeah.
What was that moment?
Yeah. Well, for me, I remember spending a crazy amount of money for me at that time on 2 tickets to the 10X Growth Conference with Grant Cardone. Later, I ended up building a sales team for him. I was recruited by his number 2, but at that time, I was a huge Grant fan, and I'd read all of his material. But I had, like the most money. Look, I was investing in myself to the best I knew how. Free YouTube videos, $12 books, and I was consuming all of them. Not just Grant stuff, but you just name it. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of success books, hours and hours of YouTube. I mean, you name it. I was all in on motivational everything. But I hadn't really ever spent any real money, So I buy these 2 tickets for my wife and I, and I remember even still going like, what am I doing? This is so stupid. And I got there, and I was enlightened to several things I didn't know. And that's the thing. When you get around people that are movers and shakers, you learn things that you meet people, and you learn things that you don't know. And you don't know who you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know. And there's actually a matrix to this. There's the known knowns, the known unknowns, the unknown knowns, and the unknown unknowns. And it's like, wow, if you can really like sort things out, if you can be open-minded enough just to think for a half second that you don't know everything, which I've always known that. But like you said, when ego gets in the way, it distorts your vision of like what you actually don't know. And it's like, oh, actually, wow, I heard that speaker, and then I met that guy in the hall, and I like all these things. Was like, wow, that's a really good idea. And like creative explosion starts happening in my brain. Like, oh my goodness, like all these things that came out of this weekend. I really don't remember anything from that weekend other than I did hear Russell Brunson pitch ClickFunnels. and I knew at that moment, I'm like, I gotta find a business that can do something with ClickFunnels. But it was the agitation of thought. This is the phrase that I use now inside of GTK. It's the agitation of thought. If I can get around people that are just doing things, that are freaking doers, they don't have to be perfect, right? Because they're going to just tell me how they're doing it, good, bad, or indifferent, and it's going to spark interest. I cannot tell you how many times we have a monthly roundtable. We have, members from all across the country that come to our monthly roundtable, and some guy's in the hot seat, and he's in a construction type industry, and he's talking about a problem here, there, and other. And then this real estate guy or this retail lady or whatever, totally different industry, says, well, forgive me, but I don't know if this is applicable for your industry or not, but I've always done blah, 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 blah. And it's just like second nature to them because it's the way that they do their business. And they don't know if this is going to work for the other industry or not. And it's like you would have taken this guy's head off, unscrewed it, opened it up. All these new possibilities have come to life because this one person just said, hey, what about XYZ? And you would have thought that he became Einstein, just all of a sudden, just explosion of ideas. And it happens every single month, like more than once. And it's agitation of thought because the way that you do something or say something or think something because you're from, the city and I'm from the Midwest and we have different businesses or whatever. We run our families different. Like we get together and we share and it's like, oh, that's really interesting. I bet you that would work for me too. That's how growth happens.
Absolutely. It's that ego being removed and being aware of your surroundings and the people that you're surrounding yourself with and getting into these places that you didn't get into before and saying, hey, you know what? I don't know about this. I could use some help on growing here. Man, it elevates and takes you to that next level
Yeah.
beyond your wildest imagination once you start doing.
Yeah, I think to your point, like we've all got the moment, and for some people, it's like it's their low, right? Like they have nothing left to lose, so why not ask for help? Or sometimes it's like me, where I was in a brand new scenario, and my eyes were opened. It was like, oh, this is why people pay for a ticket or pay for a membership to a group or get a coach or whatever it is when it comes to developing, because it's not just what I can read in a book, although I've read lots and I love books. Getting around other humans and building real relationships. There's nothing like it.
And also, like, not only did you remove the ego at that moment and say, you know what, let me put myself in a situation that, I never thought about doing this, and I'm actually going to do this. Not only did you lift your ego by saying, hey, maybe I could get something over here that I don't have here, but you also were able to get out of your comfort zone and see what was on the other side, because that's where the magic happens, on the other side of the comfort zone. Right. So spending, X amount of dollars on tickets to go see a guy speak on stage and a couple of other speakers, you're like, man, why the fuck am I going to spend all this money? And letting go of that at first is like, is it really worth it? And then going out of your comfort zone to go do it, what's on the other side, and what the growth, that explosion that happened, that's what happens for the audience. That, when you go out of your comfort zone, man, that magic on the other side, man, oh man, that's where it happens.
Yeah. And it's interesting because we all work this way, where, the comfort zone, nobody likes operating out of the comfort zone until operating outside of the comfort zone becomes the comfort zone, right? Mm-hmm. It becomes the interesting piece. Yeah. And for me at that time, like going to a conference, even networking, listening to speak, like, sure, that wasn't like necessarily out of my comfort zone, but to your point, it was spending the money. And look, I'm the guy that when I spend the money, I'm going to get my money's worth. That's right. And so I made sure I was at every session. I made sure I was taking notes. I made sure I was meeting people, and I'm okay with spending money now on those things, because I know it's going to take me to action. And I've said this, a few minutes ago, but it's all about the action. If I can get, inspired by this podcast, great, cool. But then if you don't go do anything with it, then it actually didn't do anything for you. So whether you're listening to a book or going to a speaking conference or joining a group, I wanted to, at least now my belief is that I don't want it to be cheap, right? I want it to be something that moves the needle. I want it to be expensive enough to where I'm like, okay, I got to take this serious. I'm actually going to do this, because that's how things happen. That's how needles get moved and execution occurs.
Absolutely, man. The more you pay for an event like that, for an experience like that, the more you pay attention. That's the way it works.
That's right.
So I'm curious though, you got through, this belief system. And I believe once we crack through, that belief system and build a new belief system, that there's some core values that are uncovered. What are some of the, maybe the top 2 or 3 core values that you were able to uncover, that you because as an entrepreneur, these challenges, these beliefs, they still come up. You just mentioned earlier how you want to continue shattering your beliefs that come up and take you to new horizons. What are some of the core values that you dig into to be able to crack through the beliefs that come up?
Yeah. One of my top personal core values, it's also a family core value of ours, is that we stand on our word. We do what we say. Mm. And I think that feels cheesy sometimes, or to hear it, to say it. But for me, what that means is that I am committed, absolutely 100%, no excuses, not even considering the circumstances. And so when I say I'm going to do something, or when I'm visualizing, bro, in the morning, as I've thought about my future and where we're headed, and I'm visualizing where we're going, I'm not going to lie to myself. I'm just not going to do it. The things that maybe aren't yet true in my life, but that are coming true, or that will be true at some point, they will be true because I'm telling myself, here's what I want. Here's what I'm going to do to go get it. And I will have it. And so we do what we say. I think it's just, gosh, at the basis of everything. One of the other core values is gratitude, and having gratitude, and knowing when to operate in gratitude, which is basically all the time. But we change negative thoughts to grateful thoughts. This is what we do. There's no negativity, and it's not just like change the positive for the negative. Yes, that's a play, but specifically gratitude for negativity, because you cannot operate in both. So another one of our values there. In fact, I think gratitude is probably the baseline of all of life. Gratitude is the opposite of negativity, or the opposite of bitterness, or the opposite of unforgiveness. It's just like, oh, yeah, you want to go down a whole spiritual rabbit trail. I think if you don't have gratitude, and which means automatically you have bitterness, I don't know how many pearly gates you're getting into.
It's tough to live a life of fulfillment. I don't think it's fucked tough. It's impossible to live a life of fulfillment without gratitude tied in. That the gratitude is the attitude. It's got to be. I mean, it shifts perspective. It gives you a different energy. It's just the way to live, man. And man, I don't think the first core value you mentioned. You said it might sound cheesy. I don't think it's cheesy at all. I think it's so important to live in integrity. And you mentioned something that's so important that I want the audience to pick up. You gotta have the integrity with yourself first, because if you can't be a person of integrity for yourself, you won't be able to be a person of integrity to nobody out there. And if you don't live to your word, if you don't live to the things you say you're going to live to, nobody's going to take you serious. You ain't going to get nowhere in life, y'all. So that's so important, man. Thanks for sharing that. I think the audience really needed to hear that.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge deal. And please, man, tell the audience where they can find you, what you have going on now.
Yeah. GatheringTheKings.com is our website. You can take a look at what we're doing there. We do different tiered memberships for entrepreneurs and their families. We've got cool events that happen in person. Of course, our community is virtual as well throughout the year. So we're a mixture, live and virtual. But it's not just business stuff. We're talking marriage and family. We do some success training and how to make money as a kid for our members' kids, and all kinds of fun stuff like that, which is super, just a blessing to be able to do that. And we're just really trying to help the entrepreneur, live the exceptional life, or win in all areas, as we say. And so you can check us out at gatheringthekings.com, see if it might be a good fit. We're big on harmony and making sure that we're in alignment and our families would be valuable to each other. So you can fill out an application there. Otherwise, you can take a look at our podcast, Driven to Win, where Joe is featured there as well. But you can take a look there. We just passed 500 episodes, and so had some really cool guests on there.
Awesome. And yeah, that's all going to be in the show notes, y'all. If you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. And Chaz, a couple of questions that I ask all my guests. Number one, what does the word purpose mean to you?
Yeah, purpose is the thing that I know God's made me for, that's made my family for. And so to be able to find that purpose means that I'm in alignment with the plans that God has for me and for my family. And sometimes those are tactical things. Sometimes those are, philosophical things. Sometimes they're helping other people. Sometimes it has everything to do with my individual heart. But being in alignment with what He's got for us, I think is by far the most important thing.
Right, man. Alignment with that Creator is truly a blessing, man. It's so important.
Yeah.
And when you hear the word reforge, what comes to mind?
Yeah, I think of a battle scene. I'm deep in the Prime series on the life of David right now. I'm a big fan of King David in the Bible. Read the Lion of War series, which is a book series by Cliff Graham, all about the life of David. And so when I think of reforge, I think of, David was an underdog. He was never supposed to be king. And reforging is taking the circumstances that are, maybe they're not favorable, and making, or maybe not making the best out of it. It's finding your purpose, and then pressing hard to absolutely make sure that that you stick with it.
Absolutely. Bible thumper over here. Let's get it. Love it, love it, love it. And listen, there's somebody out there right now who's struggling to create their own comeback, whether it's in their business, their relationship, their health, their personal life, and they're lost. They don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
What's one piece of advice you could give someone who's looking to reforge their life?
Yeah, you've got to have belief in yourself. And so you've got to look at, you got to look inside. That's, if you don't have that, you don't have anything. And so people can believe in you. You can have a purpose given to you by God, but if you don't believe that it's for you, or that you're good enough, or that you're worthy of a calling, then you'll never be able to step into it. So my suggestion on that would be to look in the mirror and decide who you want to be, and then start taking action each day, even if it's just small, to becoming that person. Does that person show up on time? Does that person look people in the eyes when they introduce themselves? Does that person, do kind things for others? Like, they could be super basic stuff. But you've got to start with the things that you can win in. You've got to create a history of winning. If you already have a history of winning, look back and go, if I can do that, I can do this. If you don't have any history of winning, that's okay. Create it. Start now. Start today. Find those small things, find the wins. And after a period of time of winning, look back and go, you know what? I can do this.
So important to believe in yourself and find ways to believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, ain't nobody going to believe in you anyway. So you got to believe in yourself first in order to create that comeback. That's awesome. And to build off of wins from the past if you have to, and bring them to catapult you into your future.
Yeah.
So Chaz, what's one thing that the audience doesn't know about you that you enjoy doing for fun?
They probably don't know that I'm a big elk hunter. Typically every fall, I go somewhere west, Colorado, Wyoming, New Mexico. Haven't been to Utah. Love to go to Utah, but in Arizona. But I always take my bow and try to hunt an elk somewhere.
All right, fair enough. Now everybody knows you love elk. Man, I'm curious though. Just that you brought that up. What's the best meat that you've hunted for?
Oh yeah, well, elk is the biggest game that I've hunted, and it's good. It's interesting. I've tried crocodile. I've tried a few other, ostrich, I think, some other kind of weird things, but yeah, I'm a meat hunter in general, so it doesn't really matter. I've eaten deer, turkey, of course, elk.
What's your favorite?
I mean, probably the elk, but anything in jerky tastes great to me. It doesn't really matter. Just put it to me in jerky, and I'll pound it down. I'm consuming right now like 250 grams of protein a day, so I'm just like, give it to me. I'll eat it. It's good.
There you go. Anything with jerky on it. I love it, man.
That's right.
Man, Chaz, thank you so much for coming through, man. This has been awesome. I knew you were going to come through with the energy and the knowledge, and you did exactly that, brother.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity. Blessings to you and your show. And if you're listening right now and you got value, give Joe a 5-star review. It actually matters when building a podcast like this. So jump on there, leave him a review, give him 5 stars, and share.
Thanks, brother. Thank you, man. And for all y'all out there who are watching, listening, thank you for coming through and checking the show out. And don't forget, man, LFSS, like, follow, subscribe, and share. There's somebody out there today who's struggling to create a comeback in their life, their relationship, their health, their business, and they don't know where to start. And an episode like this or past episodes could help save their life, save their business, save their marriage, and help elevate them to the next level, man. So share the episode.
Stay productive, stay profitable, and stay blessed, guys.
You've been listening to Reforge Your Life with your host, Joe Rivera. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more about Joe Rivera and how he can help you or your organization reforge your life and regain your place at the top, head on over to withjoerivera.com and follow Joe on all social platforms. The Reforge Your Life podcast was produced by Thrive Loud Productions. Thanks for listening.